Welcome back.
Hello.
This is Twinsies.
Episode 45
40
of the Twinsies pod/videocast.
Vidcast. Vodcast.
Remember vlogs? Those were a thing. Are those still a thing?
They're still a thing. I figure. Use your words, Dan. Use your words, Dan.
Take your time.
I audiobooked 2 of Gary Vaynerchuk's books. He's the big social media guy, New York Jets guy. High energy dude. But he has a daily vlog on YouTube, and you're trying to get that Smart Water sponsorship. Yeah, I see you. He has a daily vlog, and he just has like a intern or assistant or something, just kind of like follow him around and just goes through. Now, his life as like the CEO of a media company is like he's got meetings all day. He's in New York City. He's just like running around. It's like a pretty, he could do that. I don't feel like I could do it in my life because, all right. Here, I just woke up. I'm on my laptop for 5 hours. I'm gonna make this
is me doing my laundry.
Chicken sandwich. Yep. And then it's busy here at the gym and like practice and all that stuff. But just,
I see.
You gotta have the right kind of life. I feel like for that.
Yeah, I was under the impression he was like sitting down in front of a camera, but it's just
no.
his,
He's
like
go constantly.
Yeah.
Like clips of a meeting with some clients. He's jumping in the cab, going to lunch with another client. He's just like talking about. He's a good talker. But anyway, I highly recommend you check out Gary Vaynerchuk if you don't know who he is. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, especially if you're like an entrepreneur, if you own a business, or
we can do that because like I
do
that.
This summer
Mark Bell does the same thing where he'll just basically
Mark Smelly Bell.
He'll have someone basically follow him around the gym for a whole day, and then he takes all that content and just breaks it up into different stuff.
Yeah, and that's what we are doing. I mean, with Snapchat really more than anything, and I think Instagram stories. But
we need to we just wear those selfie belts or the harnesses where it like puts a camera out in front of you as you walk around.
Well, I don't know that I told you yet.
Oh God,
my Snapchat spectacles shipped.
Oh, okay.
They will be here tomorrow. So saith the United Parcel Service.
Remind me again. That's just like you tap a button on the side.
Yeah, they're the worst looking sunglasses ever.
Perfect.
They're very gaudy. Like if I was your grandma, they would look appropriate. So they're gonna look weird, but yeah, you like tap a button and they record like the next 10 seconds, and then whenever you're within, I don't think they automatically sync to your phone, but they like sync whenever you're done for the day, maybe something like that. But it's gonna be good. Yeah. Because I mean I'm full of gems.
Right.
And now you can see what I can see, so it'd be cool.
Do you see what I see?
Yeah, so I'll be able to wear those in the dugout. I'll be wearing them in practice. I'll be wearing them
on the toilet,
everywhere. Not the toilet, obviously the toilet, but not the toilet. Yeah. But I think that'll be pretty fun, and so we'll see. It's a new experiment, so that'll be cool. Next week starts a big week for us.
Next week is the transition into the summer season officially.
Yes,
where we will be
very busy yet again, and it's picked up this week, which has been good. So if you don't know. So before we get going today our segments of the podcast, we're going to have fast food review. We're going to talk about fast food for a bunch, which I think will be fun. We're going to talk about, what were we going to talk about?
Recruiting, showcases. College recruiting and showcase, because it's that kind of time of year. It's good to talk about recruiting again. Can never hear too much about it. And then number 3, we're going to talk softball. The life and times of a youth softball player.
Yep, youth softball. So this will be a good episode, but they're all golden. Yeah,
gold,
we're golden gooses here, but being in the baseball academy, softball academy, sports performance industry, there's just lots of ups and downs. It's really hard to insulate yourself completely against ups and downs, because if you do a good job, or if you have a strong clientele, typically you're going to have some sort of niche. You can't just be like, oh, we train everyone, blah, blah, blah. Like, we do train everyone. We train a lot of players from different sports. We've trained pretty much every sport you can imagine. However, former baseball guy, we just have always accumulated more baseball, softball, and volleyball, because we have a great connection with Illini Elite, and we love our volleyball players. They're super hardworking people, and there's been a lot of carryover from baseball, softball to that too, because all the shoulder care, and that was kind of how it was born, is that when I had my first volleyball client when we started a long time ago. She ended up being a high-level Division I player at Ole Miss, and I as a Division I baseball player, there were constantly volleyball players in the training room recovering from rotator cuff tears and labrum surgeries, and like their shoulders were so banged up, like they were so banged up as athletes in general. And I obviously had been through that, so I'm like, hey, I'm going to give you a lot of the shoulder care that we give to the baseball guys. Like, there's no reason you shouldn't do this, because I've seen what's going to happen if you don't. and most of those players have very little arm care in their routine. It's trickled down to softball now a little more than it has before, but obviously baseball pitchers have learned. It's no secret anymore. You've got to take care of your arm. Even young kids are on much more rigorous band programs, and that's great. It's starting to trickle into softball a little bit. It's still not very prevalent in softball.
Yeah.
And it's almost like seemingly non-existent in volleyball. So.
And I would say it's slowly making its way into youth baseball, but it's not as much in youth baseball as it should be.
No.
It's like high school players and coaches are kind of like on board, and they're kind of like incorporating more of the arm care kind of stuff. But I mean, I don't know about you, but the tournaments we go to, I mean, our guys are doing bands before the game, and no one is ever doing bands. Not that bands are like the end-all, be-all of arm care, but it's just like, I wonder how in tune. Oh, and we're getting off tangent, but this weekend we played a team that I was not a big fan of. They're kind of Bush League. We should do a podcast. I was thinking about one of our podcasts.
I got called Bush League. Did I tell you this?
Okay, wait. Too many stories. Tell me that story in a second. One of the things I was going to say is one of our upcoming podcasts should be like the etymology of Bush League and then all the different Bush League things.
Well, obviously I'm down.
But okay, so hold your story for just a second because like the team wasn't great, and
I need to show the viewers my cup. So I'm wearing an Warbird shirt with Lucas bought to me. He bought for me. I appreciate it. He was shopping or something and
Nordstrom Rack
found this, which it's great. Yeah. Also, I'm drinking carrot juice out of a black cup.
Oh yeah, you're all
very coordinated right now.
Very coordinated. That carrot juice looks extra
I
gross.
walked in with a different shirt on. I had a Warbird shirt, and I suddenly went from no black and orange to like everything black and orange. Yeah, man, big day here.
Okay, so we have 13 on the roster, and I very typically will bat 10, so 9 with an EH. And from the dugout, their coach was like, "What? These guys have 13 on the roster, and they bat 10? Like, apparently batting 10 with subs is like faux pas somehow." He's like, basically one of the coaches was like, "Man, I would hate to be a kid on their team because we have 3 kids sitting out." And it's like, what? And then every other team there was like 11, 12 guys, and they bat all of them, and then they once they're done pitching, they go back into the field, and it's just like they're still like not getting it at the youth baseball level. But
so they were calling you Bush League for doing that?
No. I described them as Bush League, and then told you the story about them being like, "Ugh, what, a kid on their team? That would be so boring. Like, I don't want to sit out." So I thought that was interesting.
First of all, you need to get used to sitting out.
A lot of baseball is
baseball. Like, you're gonna sit out. I mean, if you can't handle it, I mean, how many kids go? They're like, "Oh, my dreams for college baseball." They get a chance and they go there and they ride the pine and they're like, "Oh, I'm out of here." You know, they don't have a good attitude about not playing. The funnel narrows every year. So if you're a great high school player, you get the chance to play some college baseball. Guess what? All of your teammates are as good or better than you. Mm-hmm. So, and they're more experienced because there's there's juniors and seniors.
Right.
So be prepared to ride the bench, especially if you go to a big Division I school. So it's part of life, and I tell everyone, like one of my sort of like jokes is that baseball is like so boring.
Yeah, it's very boring.
When you're a relief pitcher, especially, my goal is to play as little as possible. The longer I'm out there, the worse I'm doing, right? So if I get my 1 inning, hopefully it's like 4 minutes and I'm back in the dugout. So out of that 3-hour baseball game, I played for this many minutes. 4. I'm putting up 4 fingers.
Four fingers, podcast listeners.
So like, and then I do that. I get in 50 games a year. Out of 140, I played for 200 minutes. That's 3 total hours when one game is 3 hours.
Right.
So I sat through 139 times 3 hours, almost 500, and that's 420 hours. So I played for 3, sat out for 420, plus pregame, which is the longest, most boring thing in baseball ever for a pitcher. You play your catch, you stretch, you do your arm care stuff, you sprint, you do whatever your running is for that day. Maybe do your workout after the game, whatever. And that's it. And then you just like catch balls for the hitters for a while. You sit in the clubhouse and read or play Fortnite, I guess. It's lots and lots and lots of sitting out. So if you can't handle it, just go play lacrosse. Be one of those lame kids that plays lacrosse. I don't know.
Well, they're the worst.
They're the worst. But no, so I got called Bush League last weekend in Grand Park. It was our first bracket game, and we were in 9 to 5 or 10 to 5, and we were like down to the time limit. We were hitting, and it was the bottom of the 6th. Mm-hmm. So chances we were going to come back up to the 7th were very slim because we started the inning, our bottom of the inning. We were up, so they had to get through the inning and get back up with like 4 minutes to go. We get a guy on with 1 out, and it was our pitcher, and I genuinely forgot. Like, this whole courtesy runner thing, like, this is my first year as a head coach.
Hard to keep track
This whole courtesy runner thing, like, they're all just out there running. Like, who cares? But obviously, I courtesy run because our catcher's very slow. He's a fantastic catcher. He's a really amazing
He's allowed
kid,
to be slow.
but he's super slow. So it's great that we can courtesy run for him. Our pitchers, on the other hand, are our most athletic players. I mean, everyone else has pretty good wheels. I wouldn't really need to have the courtesy run. However, it was pretty hot, and we just do it anyway just because I'd rather have the kids save his energy, come in, get collected, get your, whatever. So anyway, this is the last inning, and it's like crunch time, so their team's getting the ball back and pitching it. They're trying to, like, hurry up to get through our inning so they can hopefully play a 7th inning. And my pitcher got on. I forgot. I was focused on the game. He gets to second base, and then finally I remember, I'm like, oh, hey, we need a courtesy runner, go out for him. And then I, like, call time. Our guy runs out, goes to second base, gets collected. Our pitcher comes in, and then the umpire goes, time limit, that's the game. And their coach, that was so Bush League, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I genuinely forgot.
Okay.
And it didn't make any difference. You weren't going to get 2 outs in 30 seconds.
Well,
I didn't know what the clock was ticking down at that point. I figured it was. But either way, if I had done the courtesy runner exactly when he got to first base, it was still going to be the same distance to run out there. It was going to take the same amount of time. But I wasn't, like, saving it to, I'm going to save this courtesy runner. Like,
yeah.
Takes the same minute regardless.
One of the questions I was going to ask you in the Bush League episode is that a similar situation happened in reverse, where in our last game when we were in the process of getting eliminated, it was like 5 minutes until the time limit, but we were in the bottom of the 6th. So we basically had 2 choices. We could either go 1, 2, 3 really quick and then play the 7th, or if we were going to get, like, anybody on base or score any runs, it was like, all right, we got to sell out and score all of our runs, right? Because it was either the inning was going to take 6 minutes or it was going to take 15. It didn't. Okay. It was okay. So our first hitter gets on base with a single. Our next hitter, I think, like, I don't know, gets into a deep count. So basically, it's like, okay, I don't know. The situation basically came up where it was like, oh, it's close. Like, are we going to play the next inning or not? And the other team's coach called time and went out and like walked out to the mound all slow and, like, met with his team until the umpires came and, like, broke up the meeting, walked back. And as soon as he walks back, he, like, goes over to his assistant coach and they pull out their phone and they're, like, looking at the thing. So clearly he did it to stall, to, like, end the game. And I was like, in my head, I was like, that's kind of crappy. But at the same time, I mean, it's a strategic move. Like, I can't really fault him. But I was going to ask you, what would you do in that situation because I've been in that situation before and not called time, just let it play out under the philosophy that I'm not going to let the time limit dictate how I'm playing the game. Like, let's play baseball and then we'll just let the chips fall where they may. Let's beat you honestly rather than try to, like, cheat on this time limit thing. But what is your opinion on that?
Well, so were you in a tournament where they would stop the game mid-inning, like they would stop in the middle of
inning?
No, so you'd started your inning.
We had started the bottom of the 6th, and it would have ended regardless.
Okay,
but if we had ended that inning fast enough, we would have also gotten to play the 7th.
So as soon as you got into the 7th, then you get a whole 7th inning.
Right.
Okay. Because in our last one, it wasn't. They just chopped it. Whenever it was, they were like, we're done. Because I mean, Grand Park in Indianapolis is an amazing complex, and I think they just have so much. They're just like, look, we can't. Because, I mean, it's a slippery slope where you're like, oh, it was only 1 minute. We'll give you another inning. It could be 20 more minutes. And then they're just behind. Yeah. So I get it with them. I don't have an issue with that. And obviously the rules are the same for everybody. So at the end of the day, like, whatever. But, no, I wouldn't.
Would you deliberately call time to get to the time limit?
No.
Okay.
I'm only going to have a mound visit if I need to have a mound visit.
That's kind of.
If I need to have a mound visit, I will. If I don't, I'm not going to do it to stall. Now, you could because it's allowed, but no, I wouldn't do that.
And it ended up not mattering. You'll appreciate this. We ended the game, so we were down 9-5, and we had a runner on third and 2 outs. Guess how the game ended?
They picked your runner off third.
You are correct, sir.
That's embarrassing.
Which is literally the last thing that could possibly. That's like there should be a 0% chance of that happening. But so we talked about that.
What was your runner on third doing?
Well, here's what they did. The guy was pitching out of the windup the whole time, and then and just like one random pitch, he switched to the stretch, and our runner didn't see, and they ran like a little pick play because their third baseman was off third, and just ran a pick play and got him out. I was at first base, and I was like, what just happened?
The pickoffs the third is so stupid. Don't ever pick the third base. I know it like works when you're like 11. God, it's just it's terrible. I see it all the time. And I also see pickoff moves. Apparently no one knows how to do a pickoff move. Even like high school kids, they step back off the mound and then go to first base. I'm like, how has no one seen this and stopped it by now? It's crazy.
Stay tuned. That's also going to be a podcast subject.
Oh my Lord.
But yeah, every team we played did the step off the mound, throw to first.
Who's teaching this? I don't understand. If you're out there and your kids step behind the mound and then do their move to first base, just stop. There's no point in doing it.
Which the other thing that was in
play.
And
that's not your C move either. It's just a move that is archaic and has no point.
Yeah, we can't talk about this too much because that's another podcast subject. But another thing that throw into this is we were also playing on those like little turf mounds, the ones that roll onto the field.
Yeah.
And kids were like stepping off a cliff because
they're very steep. Yeah, they're just like a weird.
So it's kind of interesting.
Geometric glacier.
Yeah,
strange.
Okay,
right. Fast food.
What has spawned your interest in speaking on fast food today?
I don't know. I just I had a conversation with someone recently because growing up in Maryland, there's a certain set of fast food places, and then out here in the Midwest, there's a different set. For example, out of Maryland, there's no Culver's, no Steak and Shake. They do have Wawa, which is not really fast food, but it's kind of fast food, which I'll talk about magical Wawa in a little bit. But what's your top fast food?
Well, Dan,
if you're going to be...
Unfortunately...
Say it's like Final Destination, the movie. And you know that so it's 11:05 right now. At 12:15, a bus is going to hit you.
My answer is Steak and Shake. Tried and true. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's because I did grow up here. Steak and Shake started here, and it's delicious. Culver's is right up there. But I think if I'm getting, what'd you say, I'm hit by a bus?
Yeah, you're hit by a bus. That's probably not Final Destination-y enough. In Final Destination, the bus would probably fall out of like a helicopter.
Well, whatever eviscerates my stomach, I want Steak and Shake 7x7 spewing out of me.
Okay, that's rough image, but okay, gotcha.
Here's why I like Steak and Shake the most. Their beef is good. And they do what are called smash burgers, which is the same thing that like In-N-Out does. But basically, they do really, really thin patties, and then on the outskirts of the patty, it crisps.
Wait, is In-N-Out? I don't think In-N-Out does that.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
They smush them, as does Shake Shack.
Shake Shack does, as does Smash Burger.
I just don't think.
And Johnny, is it Johnny's? I went there last weekend. It's basically a Steak and Shake clone, and it wasn't great.
There might, In-N-Out might exist somewhere in like the middle where it's not quite a smash burger and it's not quite a real thick patty. But then when you do that, the meat on the outside gets crispy and the meat in the middle stays soft. So it's just delicious.
It's unique, yeah. I do officially protest. I don't believe In-N-Out is the same time, but neither here nor there. Okay, but do the listeners, watchers, do they know the virtues of Steak and Shake? I mean. Talk about the meat ratio to cheese ratio for a second. And talk about, they need to know about a 7x7.
Okay,
I don't think they know.
7x7 is starting from the ground up.
Is that a ground beef pun?
It could be.
Could be.
Bun, beef, cheese, 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 beef, cheese. So it's seven patties.
That helped literally no one. Understand what it was.
Oh, and then bun at the top. So 7 patties and then 7 slices of cheese.
And it was $7.77 for a long time.
It was.
Now it's like $9.50.
They caught on.
Which is still fine.
Yeah. But yeah, the beef to cheese ratio is about 50-50, and it's delicious. Where when you bite through it, it's this like gooey, greasy ball of beef and cheese with just like a little bit of bread on the outside. The bread is just there to like keep your hands kind of dry as you eat it, which doesn't really work. But yeah, it's fantastic.
And when you get it, a lot of times, especially if you're like on the go, so you go to their drive-through window, get one. They'll give it to you sometimes without the bun because they know.
They know.
So the bun will come separate, and then all the meat and cheese stack is in a little Tupperware, not Tupperware, but like a
styrofoam kind of
thing. And when you get it home, there's like a solid like 1/4 inch of clear grease at the bottom.
Yeah, you assemble it home.
And it always makes me, I always think about the Simpsons episode where Homer figures out that if he gets fat enough, he can officially get on disability and work from home. So he
yeah.
gets this goal to become like the world's fattest man, or to be
Yeah.
at least like 450 pounds or whatever it is.
Where he wears a bunch of muumuus.
And he starts wearing muumuus. But Bart is helping him reach his goal, so they go to Krusty Burger. And basically the rule was if you the grease turns like a piece of paper clear or something, then it's like greasy enough and Homer should eat it. So Homer takes a Krusty Burger and he's like, Bart, do you think this is compatible with my diet? And Bart goes, I don't know, let me see. And he takes it and he wipes it on the wall of Krusty Burger, and the entire wall becomes transparent, and then a bird flies into it. This is one of the best moments in television history. God, the Simpsons are great.
Yeah,
so that's what I think about when I think of the 7x7.
It's a greasy burger, that's for sure.
It's fantastic. And afterwards, and really Warbird Academy was founded on 7x7s because
It fueled us.
if you haven't listened to like Twinsies episodes like 1, 2, or 3, maybe 1, when we got our keys to our new current facility, which we're so humbly basking in today, we had only like 17 days to turn it around because I was leaving for my sort of comeback season to pro baseball, and I can't remember the day. I think it was like April 6th I was leaving. We got our keys like March 20th or something. And this was an old, disgusting auto body shop. Poop brown, baby poop brown. Sorry, not poop brown, but baby poop brown, like light brown walls. There was like a couple old cars in here. There was trash everywhere. There was Bondo on the floor. There was tape. Like, it was disgusting. We spent our first 3 days on our hands and knees for like 9 hours a day with a putty knife scraping the floor so we could put crack sealant in all the cracks, and then finally put down turf a couple weeks later. It was a nightmare. But anyway, we worked ourselves to the bone like 16 hours a day, and then we were exhausted zombies at the end of the night, so we just needed like a calorie pick-me-up. So we probably did 7x7s like twice or 3 times a week because we were just like, I'm just really sad, just eat these and then go home and sleep and then wake back up at 6 a.m. to get back at it.
Yeah.
So this place was built on 7x7s.
And I looked it up once, and it's only about like 1,300 to 1,400 calories, which is a lot of calories.
Yeah, it's not a small amount, but
you would think it'd be a lot higher. But the thing is, there's just like there's not really that many carbs in it. It's just all meat and cheese.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Let's talk about Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A is high up my list. It's a cult. It makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They say, what was it? It was my pleasure to serve you, like constantly.
It's a great day at Chick-fil-A.
They're very robotic.
Yeah.
But Chick-fil-A, what's your favorite item?
All right. Well, I'm gonna catch some flack for this, but
so at 12:15, a swarm of giant grasshoppers are going to descend on the town, and they're going to eat you alive.
Well, I'll tell you what.
So before that, you're going to have your last meal at Chick-fil-A.
My go-to meal at Chick-fil-A is the Cobb salad with avocado, lime, ranch dressing, and then
that's terrible.
2 spicy Chick-fil-A sandwiches.
Oh, okay. All right. You redeemed yourself. Okay. Fair enough. So number one, if you don't know how to eat a Chick-fil-A sandwich, I recommend that you do it with honey. Get a regular Chick-fil-A sandwich or a spicy, and get a packet of honey from them, and put that thing on it. You're gonna scoff, but it's quite good. My go-to meal is a spicy sandwich, or a Chick-fil-A sandwich with honey, waffle fries, and a half diet, half regular lemonade. Their cookies are also outstanding.
Yeah,
they're extremely good. It basically, like, Chick-fil-A is legit.
It is good.
When they come out with new stuff, it's solid. I mean, everything they do is really high quality. They just creep me out.
They're just they're a little creepy.
More like
and plus,
real
like
people.
I don't know what it is, but the only time I find myself craving Chick-fil-A is on Sundays. I don't know what it is, but it's just like I'm always like, I could go for some Chick-fil-A, and it's always on a Sunday. So I like never really go.
I get it. It's their company. They want to, they want to observe the Sabbath. I get it. But at the same time, that's 15% of your revenue down the drain. But again, they don't want to appeal to the shareholders or do that. It's their right. Yep. So be it. And, I mean, scarcity is a thing. You're like, I can't get it. Can't get it.
Yeah.
But then again, if it was like Saturday you were closed and you can't get it, then like Sunday, you're kind of doing the same thing. Saturday, Sunday is your weekend. Then you go there. But like Sunday, you like have the craving and it's your Sunday. It's not like you're going to run to Chick-fil-A on Monday. Like you're back to work. You're back to doing stuff. The feeling kind of goes away. So I feel like they don't even capitalize on the scarcity that they're probably creating.
Hey, they seem to be doing okay though. So
they're doing fine. Chick-fil-A it's just
whatever Chick-fil-A.
Magical place. All right, tell me about Wendy's.
Wendy's.
We're gonna run through these now. Wendy's. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Classic triple with cheese. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. get a Baconator, you get a triple Baconator, or you get Dave's triple with cheese. You get a $1 Frosty, and their nugs are good. They got good nugs.
Okay, I'm gonna tell everyone a Wendy's story, because if you didn't hear this, this was like way also in the past in Twinsies podcast land. We hiked a thing called the Incline last year.
Oh yeah.
And here's what you don't know about the story, because we didn't mention this prior. So we were in Colorado going to a clinic, and it really was just like a vacation for us. It was early March. We had just finished our busy season here at Warbird. We kind of just get away. So we went to Colorado Springs, did this little strength clinic. We were there for like an hour a day, and we kind of like pieced out.
Right.
We were not very good clinicians or attendees,
clinic
whatever. We were just kind of like, whatever. Everyone's like, I want to learn. I want to learn. We're like, well, we don't really want to learn. We just want to go do Colorado stuff. But anyway, we had booked a Pikes Peak rail trip up to the top of Pikes Peak. So it's like this rail car. I don't know what it's like, whatever. So we get there. It's like our second to last day maybe there. And they said, what? You can't go up to the top today. There's adverse weather conditions
too windy,
or something.
too cloudy, something like that.
So like, you're only going to go halfway up. Do you still want to do it? They're like, you can get a full refund if you don't want to. So we're like, so Lucas had spotted 3 attractive young ladies going up this hiking trail.
Yes.
And we parked in this parking lot that shared a little walkway to this like hiking trail. You could see it cut up into the mountain. It was
just like went straight
up. And we're like, what is that? We don't know. And then we walked over to the office for the rail car thing. But like I said, Lucas, his eye was caught.
Yeah.
Some sparkly things, and then
distracted.
We're like, well, we can't go to the top. Maybe we should just go see if we can find
chase
those
down
3.
those ladies.
So we did. And we were very unprepared for this because we didn't know what it was, number one.
Well, and we had thought that we were just going to be sitting on a train.
Yeah. So Lucas had packed an adult beverage or 2 and had consumed a handful of adult beverages, which, again, not a big deal. And we'd also eaten Wendy's just prior and had almost no water to drink.
No water.
After a night on the town. So we had the least amount of hydration possible, the maximum amount of Wendy's cheeseburgers in our stomach, and
we were just in like a regular clothes. I think I had a button-down shirt on that I took off.
Yeah.
So
and then we went and did the hardest, most grueling hike of our lives.
It was not easy. And we were 2 young, buff dudes.
Yeah,
we can handle it.
It won't be a big deal.
And it was not fun. Like the first you start out and it was just like kind of level. I was like, oh, I could do this. But then you get about, I don't know, a third of a mile, or not even, probably a quarter of a mile in, and you just start looking straight up.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh God.
And then there's a false summit about 2/3 of the way up.
Yeah.
Like you think you see the top, but then you get to the top, and then it's like this. And then it's like that. So it gets slightly less steep at the top, but it's still really steep.
So when you're down here, you think you see the top, but you don't.
Like, oh, we're finally there. And then you get there, and you're like, oh, no, we have 35 more minutes of this.
Right.
I think it took us an hour and 45 minutes, and it was a 1 mile. And it's a crazy amount of elevation in that 1 mile.
Very Bernie quads.
It was brutal. And then it was a 3-mile roundabout hike back down, because you don't go right back down the thing, because my God, you jelly legs. You could just take one false step and just tumble down and like literally not stop.
Yeah, your 2 options once you get to the top are go back down the way you came, or take this really windy path that's a more shallow grade,
like a goat path kind of thing.
But it's like a switchback, but it's like way longer. But on our way up, we were passing people, and we were like, how do more people not die on this? Like, people are going back down. And
not many, but a couple.
Their heels are hitting gravel on the corner of the step, and they're like, whoa, and they like hit 2 or 3. But you go head over heels, and you're just
goodbye. And there's like no way. I mean, they talk about how every year, like I think you get fined, or like they can't get anything up there to get you. So if you go up there and like break your ankle, they can't come get you. They can't like bring a helicopter. There's no vehicle, because it's like wood pylons all the way up. Or pilings, or whatever you call it. Like there's wood like 6x6 or 8x8s,
like chopped up railroad ties.
like railroad ties all the way up. So you're constantly going up those. Like there's no, and then after that it just drops off. So, I mean, there's no vehicle coming. A helicopter can't get there. They said like you just have to like have someone help you down. Which like, I imagine like trying to like, I'm in the middle and I'm like injured and 2 other people are holding. Like I could take all 3 of them down with me. It's an absolute nightmare. And so you saw all these like very not fit people doing this. I'm like, that's really risky, because a guy like us probably has to help you down, which we would do if we were put in that situation, obviously. But I mean, that's not good for anybody. Like, you
No.
got to make sure you know what you're doing, and we really didn't.
Nope.
So
Nope.
that's our Wendy's story.
Yeah, if we had been lesser people, if we didn't have a strength training or athletic background, and then we were like doing that same thing, there's no way we make it to the top. We probably have to turn back and go back down.
It's very quitty. There's a lot of times where you're like, we should just quit. Like,
Yeah.
this
I
is
get
not
it.
great, but there's like no good way. You're like stuck. It's either go back down, which seems terrible, or finish it up. So
Yeah.
Culver's. Tell me about
I love Culver's. Culver's is right up there with Steak and Shake. I'm a huge fan of everything on their menu. Their burgers are good. Their chicken fingers are good, and they have their custard is to die for. I'm a huge
to die for. Okay.
huge Culver's guy.
Okay. I'm going to tell everyone about Wawa, because if you're not from the East Coast, you need to know. So when I played for the Canada River Sharks, and I grew up Wawa, I didn't have an appreciation for Wawa until I started playing, at least I think, college baseball. Wawa is a gas station. It's a really nice one. You walk in, it's very clean, very well lit. They have like yogurt, they have candy bars, they have all the stuff. They have like a little more like higher end food too. So if you need to get like a decent sandwich and like a yogurt and a piece of fruit, you can do it there.
It's kind of like for reference, it's a much nicer Casey's.
Yeah.
Where they kind of like offer everything. It's just way nicer than Casey's.
But they have, like, the crown jewel of it is that they have hoagies, which, if you know what a hoagie is, a sub sandwich, whatever, grinder, hoagie, sub, whatever you want to call it. And they have tons of made-to-order food and drinks. So you can go in there, you get a quesadilla, go in there, get a chicken cheesesteak, you can go in there, get a turkey sandwich, you can get a BLT. You can go in there and get a legitimate meal. So when you're traveling, a lot of times when you're playing ball, you leave the field at 10:30 p.m., you get on the road. There's not really a great place the bus can stop for 30 guys. So a lot of times on the East Coast, we would stop at Wawa because you could get like snacks for the ride. You could get
Beverages.
any beverage that you want. You could actually get a legitimate meal. So you go in there, you get like a Snickers for later. You get a coffee for that now or whatever. You get a bottle of water for the ride. You get some gum. You get a full sandwich, like hot, toasted, like made to order. Get a soft pretzel. You can have like a legitimate smattering of foods and a decent meal. But my team also gave out like $1 off Wawa coupons a lot. So if you came on like Wawa night, because they sponsored a lot of the teams in my league,
$1 off Wawa is a weird
and they
sentence.
usually give those to the players too. So I had like a stack of these things. So every day I would go to lunch pretty much and grab a hoagie, a chicken cheesesteak, and you can like pick all your toppings made to order. You go and you order off a little LCD screen. And you're like, chicken cheesesteak, this size, I want pepper jack cheese, I want Old Bay on it, I want spinach, roasted red peppers, pretty legit. Light mayo, blah, 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 blah. You can just customize it, and then it prints out a little ticket. They've got your order. You go do your thing, go pay for it, wait for it, grab it, and go. It's a really good system.
And
it's good food. It's like really like solid. Like it's not worse than Subway. Like I think it's better than Subway. It's not quite as good as Potbelly.
It poops in Subway's mouth.
It's pretty solid.
I would say that. So the one I went to, I think I actually went to a Wawa's unsolicited from you, and I think I remember talking to you about it later, and you're like, "Yeah, dog, Wawa's is the shiz." But I was far enough east in a tournament last year where I went to a Wawa's, and didn't really know what it was. Walked in there, and the quality of the sandwich I got was great. I would say that
solid.
It was pretty like comparable, the one I was at, to like a Quiznos kind of deal.
Yeah.
It was very good.
But I think one of the problem is that people on the East Coast understand. Like when I was a kid, there's Wawa, but I never like got food there. Only until like college baseball did I start like getting food there. And especially if you're from like Pennsylvania, Delaware, it's like very in the culture. Because Wawa exists from like Maryland, a little bit into Ohio, a little bit into West Virginia, and a lot in Pennsylvania and Delaware. And so if you're just in that little like quad state area, especially like PA and Delaware, like people eat at Wawa. Like whole family could go over there and just grab food and go. But if you're not from the area, you wouldn't go into Wawa and really know what to expect. So you could obviously go in there and get acclimated quick and like maybe get a sub, but you wouldn't go in there expecting to get your lunch. But when you are in the culture of that area and you start to like realize that people like love Wawa, then you start to be like, oh, I'm hungry. Oh, there's a Wawa. I'll grab lunch. Whereas you'd never say that about a gas station, like
No, right.
typically. And it's the same thing. There's another one called Sheetz, which is a competitor, which I hate Sheetz. Mostly the same food, the exact same sort of layout, but I just hate them. I don't really know why, but I've gotten sandwiches from there, and they're just like not as good, and they're just like kind of off to me. Some people, it's kind of like one of those things where some people swear by Sheetz, and there's a lot more Sheetz in like Ohio, Sheetz kind of creeps out a little bit more. I don't think they compete well with Wawa.
What was the one gas station we went to? I was with you wherever we were, and we got those fried chicken sandwiches. I think. And you got
good point.
And it
was, Royal Farms.
Oh man,
Royal Farms. Also, very narrow strip of the country in the Mid-Atlantic. A lot of them in Maryland. They're famous for fried chicken. That's like their thing. And I heard something about the story, like the Royal Farms guy. I think he was a dairy farmer.
Murdered someone?
What?
Oh, I don't know. I thought that's where you're going.
No. I think he was a dairy farmer, and he tried to sell his milk under like his brand to like somewhere. But they were like, no, we already have contracts with all these other milk places. So he like started his own convenience stores, mostly to sell like his milk. I think this is back in like 60s or 70s or something. But anyway, like they had like a fried chicken recipe, and that like became a thing, and it just like took off over time. And if you go to Royal Farms, they have like seriously like incredible fried chicken, and they also have like, which we stopped there, and it was like the best idea ever. You can go in there and get a pulled fried chicken sandwich, which they'll pull out like a fried chicken breast like that you could buy, piece of fried chicken, and then they'll just in front of you like strip off all the meat, and then arrange it on a sandwich, put on like the kind of like spicy mayo or whatever they put on it, 2 pickles, and you're like, oh my God, why doesn't everyone do this? It was such a great sandwich. That's so simple.
If you've never been to Royal Farms and you happen upon one, you have to pull over and get fried chicken.
It's like a blue sign.
It looks really nice.
They're very nice too. So man, Mid-Atlantic's got some good gas stations.
Man, that fried chicken sandwich was good.
It's a good mention.
And like for fried, okay, fried chicken is everywhere. So when you have a fried chicken sandwich and it makes you go, dang, that's good fried chicken.
Yeah. All right. It's a good, decent fast food / gas station segment.
Least favorite fast food place?
I want to say White Castle.
I was going to say White Castle. But
I'm also going to need probably a moment.
White
Castle's so bad.
I need to give White Castle a second chance, maybe. But the last time I had White Castle, I was like 13 years old. I was on a baseball tournament, and I was with my dad, and I was like, "Oh, White Castle! I've heard of that. Let's try White Castle. We don't have that in Illinois." And I got sliders because that's what you get when you go to White Castle, apparently. And it was, I wanted to like vomit. It was like this weird purple beef patty, and then the like crappy onions they put on it.
Yeah.
And just like soggy, and like the one I got wasn't even that warm. It was like lukewarm, and it was the worst experience. I mean, if you're fast food, it's supposed to be good. It was terrible, and I have not gone back since, and I don't think I will.
I ate there twice. I ate there once when I first played for Evansville, because we were in this little hotel for spring training, and there was like nothing within walking distance except for White Castle. So I ate there once, and it was gross. I ate there a second time in Indianapolis. I think the night of Steve Aoki, maybe, or
yeah, that's what you told me about that.
Was it? I got a milkshake and I got chicken rings. Wasn't the worst, because it's just like instead of chicken tenders, they're just like a ring of chicken.
Smash them into a ring.
Yeah, which it's all the same. So like they were fine. Like they were comparable to like Burger King chicken tenders or whatever. And the milkshake was okay, but I had their sliders back in the day, and they just made me feel like death. And they looked like little translucent little sausage grease patties.
Like
they were just gross. They're like the worst looking meat of all time. So I don't know. Maybe some people. I've heard it's got a cult following by some people. I don't know who those people are. They're probably mutants.
Some people swear by
They're
it.
probably mutants.
Yeah.
I apologize if that offends you.
They probably like eating boogers too, because that's
it just looks really gross.
Yeah,
it doesn't make you feel good.
No,
your body's not happy with it. But
no,
yeah, that's all I got. Fast food.
That's all I got for fast food.
All right, so we're gonna talk about college recruiting, because it is time. It is that time of year.
'Tis the season.
So, common question: should my son or daughter? I mean, I'm gonna talk in baseball vernacular right now, but it doesn't really change that much.
I was gonna say, let's just blanket talk about baseball, but all these things apply to softball as well.
Mostly, I mean, softball players their recruiting schedule is a little bit earlier. I mean, more kids. They're changing that rule now, but more softball girls are going off the board as freshmen and sophomores. It's still crazier compared to baseball. But anyway, big thing. So say you're a parent and you're gonna pay. You're like, okay, like I want to support my kid playing college baseball.
Yes.
I know we're gonna have to spend some money to do it.
Yes.
Say you allocate $300 for each of his high school seasons. So freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. That's kind of the cost of like one, maybe two, showcases.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yep.
If you're gonna go do those things, you do like a college camp for maybe $150. and then maybe like a showcase camp by a company like Prep Baseball Report, which they do a great job for their scouting stuff, if that's what you're looking for. But so say you're going to allocate $300 a year. So a lot of parents ask, like, hey, should we go do this? Like, I've heard we got to start early. I've heard we got to get their name out there. I'm like, well, how good is your son? So let's just use a pitcher as a reference. So say your son's a freshman, throws 70 to 74, which is a typical freshman, which is not bad. That's not bad at all. Most kids, when they do the right thing, strength training, they work on their mechanics, they gain about 3 to 5 miles per hour every year. So if you're at 70 as a freshman, you'll be 75 as a sophomore, 80-ish as a junior, and then maybe 83, 84, 85 as a senior, and you'll get to play some junior college Division III baseball. That's like nothing to scoff at whatsoever. The hardest throwers are throwing around 80 as a freshman. We have one of those in our program. I've got a couple kids in the upper 70s in my 14U team. If you're throwing 80 as a freshman, you're on track to be like kind of 85 as a sophomore, and then you're going to be probably off the board probably that year if you can throw some strikes, 88, 90 as a junior, and then maybe a 90-plus guy as a senior. I mean, that's just like the way it sort of shakes out when you throw that hard that young. So anyway, but say you're that 70, 74 kid as a freshman. Should you go to a camp? Should you go to a showcase? So showcases and camps are a little different, right? Mm-hmm. So if you want to go to a camp, so say you want to go to, University of Illinois' baseball camp or University of Tampa's baseball camp, just throwing random ones out there. University of Oregon baseball camp. University of
Timbuktu.
Of Grizzly Bear University's camp, whatever.
I love Grizzly Bear University. GBU.
Different experience than a showcase. So with those camps, those are a little bit better because when you're not there yet, which I'll talk about in a second, because they're just going to give you a chance to interact with colleges, to see other kids your age who are good and serious about baseball, because the kids who are not serious about baseball, they don't go to these camps. You'll get to be in a big pool with other like-minded kids, and you'll get to compare yourself. You'll get an evaluation. You get to talk to college coaches. You'll get to perform in front of them.
There's an instructional component.
Yeah, there's an instructional component. So very different experience. If you want to do those and you have the money, I say go do them. Nothing going to hurt you. Now, if you're going to do that because you want to go to that school and you want to get seen by them, and you're that 70 to 74 kid, or you're just basically not there yet, then save your money because they're not going to sign you for that. Now, if you want to go to a showcase and you're that 70 to 74 pitcher as a freshman, say you have great mechanics, you got a nice curveball, you got a nice changeup, you throw strikes, you go to this thing, they write up your report, they got your video, you're on the website, you're 70 to 74 miles per hour. What's going to come of it? Absolutely nothing. So if people see it, they'll be like, oh, okay, well, maybe in 3 years he'll throw hard enough to play for my program. I'll check back in 3 years.
Right.
Getting your name out there, quote unquote, where they've seen your name and they see that, oh, there's a nice kid who has not much velocity, who's a couple years away. Okay. They're not going to like throw your name into a big database. They're just going to like, if someone, throws your name back their way 2 years later, they'll be like, oh, maybe I've heard that name.
Yeah, it looks
What's
familiar.
he look like now? But really what you look like then, if you're not there, doesn't really matter.
Right.
So let me go over quick, at least for pitchers, then you can go through kind of with hitters. For pitchers, they want to know your name because they're going to be following you and be very interested in you if you throw this hard at each age. As a freshman, 77 plus. Sophomore, 80 plus. Junior, 83, 82, 83 plus. Senior, 84, 85 plus, something like that. So if you're at that point, then you're like kind of ready where people like can know about you. So obviously if you're 83 as a junior, Division I schools are not going to be interested in you for the most part. But Division IIIs, if they see you, they'll be like, oh, this is a kid that I could get. Next year he might be 85, 86. Like I need to make sure I come and watch him this year. I might need to talk to him now so I can get him before he develops too much. If you're 84, 85 as a junior, Division IIs, they're going to be pretty interested because, again, they're trying to steal some of those kids who might be Division I caliber when they're a senior. If they can sign you early before you kind of get to that point, they can get a really good investment. If you're 87 plus as a junior, you're probably going to go, if you can throw strikes and have a decent second pitch and third pitch, and you're a pitcher, not just a guy who just wings the ball, you'll probably go off the board, with maybe like a Division I school because they assume you're probably going to be a 90 mile per hour guy as a senior. So again, they're doing the same thing. They're kind of extrapolating, dreaming on your future, what you might be as you get older, but they have to see it there now. So if you're 2 years away, so again, if you're throwing like 72 as a freshman, you might have great mechanics and you might need to fill out and you absolutely might be that college prospect 4 years from now, 3 years from now. But right now, going out there and getting your name out there and getting a profile and showing yourself as a 72-mile-per-hour pitcher, it won't do anything at all for you. So you could just wait and save that money. And so what I would recommend is, again, if you have $300 for each of those years, and you're going to be that 83, 84 kid as a junior, let's say, save the $300 as a freshman, save the $300 as a sophomore, spend that $900 as your junior year, cast a really big net, because it's like, hey, I'm here. Look at me now. I'm a mostly finished product, and I'm not all the way finished. So there's going to be more next year. There's going to be more velocity comes next year. But that's when you can put a flood of exposure out there. Go to a bunch of camps. Go to a bunch of showcases. Do things that are going to get you in front of college coaches. Obviously, send the emails. You have to do that stuff too. Send out the question. You fill out their questionnaires on the website. Just like anything else, if you go to the dance and there's a pretty girl you want to dance with, she's not just going to come up to you.
Right.
You got to go out there, say hello. So go to their website, fill out their questionnaires, send them an email that's very earnest and honest, and be like, hey,
well written.
I like your program. I would be interested in playing for you guys. What do I have to do? Can I send you some video, or just send them video? They go through all of it because they're looking. They're trying to find. They're open to seeing, finding that diamond in the rough, and they're not going to just. They don't want to miss anything. So they'll open all the emails. They might not respond to you. They might not like you. You might not be for them, but they'll read it if you send something to them. So make sure it's well written, free of typos, give them good video. The video doesn't have to be complex. If you're a pitcher, just get a couple different views. If you have something that shows your velocity, but it shows the way your mechanics are, how your arm works, all that sort of stuff, that's all you have to do. I text videos of players to college coaches all the time. If I have a kid that's good, that I'm like, hey, this kid's good, I'm going to send him to this school that I think he could play for, I do it. And they're like, oh, yeah, he looks good. What's his name? Tell me about him. Like, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay. Think you get him to come to my camp so I can look at him more? Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
Talk to him. Goes to the camp. Oh, man, he came to our camp. He was good. Like, we really liked him. We talked to him a bunch. He's going to come for a visit. Go for a visit. They go follow him in the spring. Sign him. That was exactly how it happened with one of our Division I commits. It started with me texting a video that I took with my iPhone while he was throwing a bullpen in which he hit 84. He was a sophomore. Nice mechanics, tall kid, like, again, long, lanky, pretty, like, just good pitcher's body where he's going to fill out. He's going to throw harder over time. He's already got good mechanics. His arm already works well. He's got a feel for a second pitch. He throws strikes. I think he had 16 punch-outs the other day in 5 2/3 innings, by the way.
Yikes.
Attaboy. You know who you are if you're listening. But, yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be super complex, but you have to try to find the right fit. So if I have a kid who's 78 to 82 as a junior, I'm not going to text his video to a Division I school.
Right.
If he's 86, 87, 88 as a junior, I am. Like,
right.
I will. And I'll send to all the other schools below it, too.
Just for the hitting side really quick, exit velocity doesn't correlate exactly one-to-one to pitching velocity. Like, you'll find it's not every coach cares a ton about exit velocity.
And let me jump in real quick because pitching velocity is not the only. I think I've said a bunch of times, you have to be a pitcher. 87 just all over the place
means nothing.
Doesn't get you. I mean, it opens some eyes. You'll get somewhere, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be, a 50% scholarship pitcher at a Division II or Division I school.
But sort of just just to correlate the hitting numbers, like the minimums at each age level are 90 plus as a senior, 85 plus as a junior. I keep touching the table; it moves. 80 plus as a sophomore, and then 75 plus as a freshman. Pretty much, like if you're
that 5 miles per hour per year, if you're doing the right things, is good to. That's what you're going to realize through training, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously, some kids get more than that. Like you hear like velocity programs and hitting velocity programs, and we've had kids that gain like 10, 12 miles per hour in a year. I mean, one of my 14U pitchers, I signed him last year from our tryout. I say signed, but I just took him on my team. He was 58 to 61. He's 67 to 71 this year. He's gained 10 miles per hour in less than a year's time. I mean, we didn't do that. And next year he won't gain 10 miles per hour again. He hit a growth spurt. He did strength training for the first time. He really worked on his mechanics. He put in a lot of hard work. He's a great young man. He did a great job. But we can't claim like gains like that every year because in 2 more years he'll be the hardest throwing human of all time. Like it's going to taper down. But if you do the right things, when you hit a growth spurt, you'll get those big floods of velocity and exit speed and all that stuff too. Yeah,
and just to echo your point again, where the pitching velocity numbers and hitting velocity numbers are sort of just like, hey, look at this number. But then you have that get someone's attention. Then you have to be able to back it up. Like we've had several people in our facility that can hit 92 off a tee, but you look at their swing and you're like, there's no way that this 92 plays because he can't this 92 requires that he can square a ball up that's flying through the air at 85 miles an hour, and he can't do that. So there's it's not the end all be all, but it's just like the tool you can use to make someone look at you, and that's how you like grab their attention.
Yeah, and there's just lots of other things like. And I don't know that when we talk to some coaches that are like, I don't really pay attention to extra velocity.
Right.
I just go and watch, and I see if a kid can hit. Like, you can tell if a kid's got power if he doesn't.
Right.
You can tell if a kid can hit or if he can't. And though the eye test is still really important. Now, if they can't see him play and I send him a video, the best thing we can do is say, look, he's got some bat speed.
Right.
Go watch him. Go see if he can hit. And then they go do that. So it's tougher to say, oh, this kid can really hit in a cage or off a tee. Because, like, we don't know most of the time. We'll work with a kid that he just comes to us in the winter, and we work with him all winter. We don't know if he can hit until we see him in a game finally.
It's a different animal.
Because pitch recognition and your just natural timing as a hitter, those are the things that really, really matter. And you could have the best swing, you could have the best bat speed, but not be the best hitter because you
swinging to dumb pitches.
I mean, your brain, your plate discipline, there's so much to hitting just beyond extra velocity and launch angle and your swing mechanics. We're not robots.
Right.
And, like even on my 14U squad, our best hitter, he is just extremely good at getting his barrel to the ball. He doesn't have the best swing on the team. His swing has continually gotten better. He works really hard on it. But he is the best at timing pitches up. And it was funny, he remarked to me earlier, so Colton, if you're listening, proud of you. We see curveballs now at 14U. And I know you see curveballs at younger ages, but we're seeing them more. And our kids have not seen many of them, so their brains don't get it. So they just like basically swing and miss at all of them. And they'll continue to do that until they've seen enough of them when their brain starts to figure it out. But last weekend, after their kid was throwing in, and they're not good curveballs, but they're throwing a curveball, we're swinging and missing, and finally, kid, boom, line drive, hits an RBI, or gets an RBI, and he comes in, he's like, hey, I hit a curveball. I'm like, you did.
Yes, you did.
You're like the first one. And it just takes that. Like your brain sees a couple, okay.
Right.
Oh, there it is. I see it. I figured it out. And then you react and it happens.
The floodgates open.
And now he's done it once. And then for the rest of his career, he's just getting better and better identifying pitches and being on time. But it didn't shock me that he was the first guy to really square up a curveball because of how good he is at timing up everything. I mean, he's good with his plate discipline. When he really times up fastball as well and gets the barrel to it, like I said, it wasn't a surprise at all that he was the first one to like figure it out and get himself on timing even with an off-speed pitch. So that just happens to every hitter, and some hitters are better than others, and guys in the big leagues are extremely good with timing because they all have the same swing. I watched a junior college game yesterday. Those kids had good swings. They had good pop. I mean, it's Heartland Community College versus Parkland. And I was surprised at the physicality of both teams. And, I mean, you look at all the swings, and, like, their swings aren't that much different than, like, pro guys' swings. But those guys would get demolished by pro pitchers. And so you say, like, why? And it just comes down to discipline and pitch recognition and their approach and all that stuff. And swinging wood bats. Like, the funnel narrows as pitchers get better. And it's, hitting's a crazy long-term thing.
Yep.
But we got a little off topic. But in general, I don't know, what else you got on recruiting?
Well, I would just say, maybe to just sum up everything that you just said, is most players, and when I say most, it's like underlined,
vast majority,
aren't going to fall into the camp of they need to be proactive about going out and getting in front of people as freshmen or maybe even as sophomores.
Yeah.
And the rare instance where you're such a physical specimen that you are going to be getting looks from colleges as freshman and sophomore,
or as a 14-year-old, you'll probably know who you are.
You'll know who you are,
yeah.
and there's not going to be. I mean, it's not like you're at that point probably going to have to do a ton of work anyway. Like people will know you at that point. So, I think. I mean, I liked the way you put that. Just basically, if you have an allowance, spend it as much junior year into senior year.
It's going to be wasted if you're not there yet. Just wait till the cake is mostly baked. And again, for pitchers, it's usually just velocity. It's not like that's the only thing that you need because you need lots of other stuff. But if the velocity's not there, the scouts are going to wait until it gets there. Yeah. And again, you don't have to be a 90-mile-per-hour guy, but once you get above 80, when you're 80 and above, now you're getting really close. Then we just have to evaluate your other stuff.
Yeah, because if you're at college,
is a big milestone for a pitcher.
Yeah, and then they can actually start to conceptualize what you might be as a player for them. Whereas when you're a freshman, sophomore, they there's
They have
too many
no
variables
idea.
at play.
Like, yeah, you might quit baseball. Like, you're
Right.
a little kid. Like,
You might
they
not
need
grow
to
anymore.
Yeah, I mean, again, watching this game, this JUCO game yesterday, those kids were. I mean, they're not kids. I mean, and they're all 18, 19, 20 because there's junior college. They're all freshmen and sophomores. They are physically big.
Yeah.
So if you're 130 pounds, how can a college coach say like, yeah, he'll be what I need him to be? You know, a thick 190 pounds as a second baseman or third baseman or shortstop or whatever by the time he's there.
Right.
It's just, you know, you can't give them too long of a journey to have to guess for.
All right, yeah. That's a good
Little short recruiting segment.
chat on recruiting.
All right, we're gonna talk about softball.
Softball, and specifically, I want to touch briefly on some of the things I see in youth softball. In particular, here's how this conversation starts. I was talking to one of the assistants at a local community college, and they were talking about how, in the games they played this season, they see kind of two types of hitters in softball. There are the big boppers who strike out a lot, swing and miss a lot, but when they get it, they get it. And then there's slappers, so typically hitting from the left side, super fast, going to hit stuff on the ground and try to beat it out to first base. But there's kind of a void of the sort of like naturally good hitter who hits for high average with occasional pop, can hit stuff in the gap. And I don't know if that's a product of just kind of community college in general, like those hitters are just making the jump earlier or whatever. But and so I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. It was an interesting sentiment to me. And so I was kind of watching, with that in mind, just watching the softball game, and I noticed that I should pair this with, I also went to see the baseball team play. And just in a cursory judgment, I would say that the level of what was a very good softball team was an accessible level of talent. And by that I mean, if you want to play college softball, you can do it. And so one of this led me to start analyzing their swings, and I was like, oh, well, these are clearly good players, but this type of softball player is a type that I have a ton of in my hitting clientele right now. So the big thing I noticed that was kind of separating them from maybe some of my younger softball players that they clearly learn as you play more and more softball, and this has kind of been a running theme throughout our last couple of podcasts, is they all have good swings, but what they do better than my youth softball players is they apply what are very good swings at game speed, regardless of changes in velocity or what we might call like pitcher type. One of the things that I used to talk about with my hitters, and then I stole the verbiage from the Michigan head coach, is hitters basically what you do when let's say you are working all winter off the tee and you've developed what you would consider a very technically sound swing. So it's short to the base, or softball in this case. Your barrel spends a lot of time in the zone. You're long through extension. You can get your barrel to all different parts of the zone. Your hands stay back, all this kind of stuff. You have good hip rotation, so you have a good swing. That's about half the battle, because then you have to take that swing and be able to apply it at game speed. Probably the biggest variable that I see affecting this with my younger softball players, that high-level softball players are very good at doing, is let's say, and I see this all the time, especially with my junior high players, that I get into a game and a girl's throwing really, really slow. So in junior high, this is like 49 miles an hour. So throwing kind of rainbows in there. That can very quickly cause a problem for what would otherwise be very, very good hitters, because typically what they'll do is they're not very good. There's like sort of an archetypal pitcher who throws at junior high, 54-ish.
Hitting speed.
Exactly. So they've been conditioned to hit at hitting speed, which is to say there's a certain spot in her delivery where I'm going to start my load, and when I start my load in that spot, I have just enough time to get into my back leg. I get separated with my hands, my front foot gets down, and now I'm ready to attack the softball. And when she's throwing it hitting speed, that puts my barrel right in the zone when the softball's getting there, and then I smash. But when then pitchers start to hit out or pitch outside of that hitting speed, whether it's higher or slower, now all of a sudden I get caught. So, for example, I always tell this anecdote where I went to watch one of my, at the time, this was a couple years ago, what was one of my better hitters hit in a junior high game. And she was playing against a team that was not very good. And in fact, I learned that the girl on the mound had only been pitching for about 2 weeks. So she was just throwing these rainbows into the plate. And her first two at-bats, pop-up, foul, first baseman, out. And then weak ground ball, third baseman, out. And on both at-bats, she's just way out over her front foot. And in the game, which I would not recommend doing this, but during the game, she runs out of the dugout, finds me in the stands, and goes, "What am I doing wrong? Like, help fix me." And I told her, I was like, "Well, you're loading as if this girl is throwing 57 miles an hour right now. So you're loading up, taking a second load, and then getting out over your front foot before the softball ever gets there. You can essentially swing twice before the ball gets there." And so I said, in this next at-bat, see the softball out of her hand before you ever do anything. So you're just sitting in there in your stance. You're chilling. She's going to start her delivery. You don't care. She's going to release the softball. You don't care. Wait till it's in flight before you start your load and swing, almost like you would swing in a slow pitch game. And lo and behold, that at-bat, she hits a double to left center. And so I was talking to her after the game, and I was like, "Listen, that's not a high-level concept. That's what your job as a hitter doing every single time, regardless of the method that the softball is being delivered to you, whether it's front toss in like a BP session or at game speed. You're always working on adjusting the timing of your load based on the speed of the pitch. Because in a perfect world, if I were to go out and watch a softball player play a game, and I could see nothing other than just her, I shouldn't be able to tell whether the pitcher's throwing 50 miles an hour or 63, because her load, so starting with her weight shift, her hands get back, her foot gets down, and her swing starts, that should always look the exact same. And what we're adjusting as hitters is when that load is starting. And so this is kind of where I'm getting back to that point of what hitters try to do is basically group pitchers into one of three categories. You have early rhythm pitchers, you have late rhythm pitchers, and you have split rhythm pitchers. So an early rhythm pitcher might be a girl who throws hard enough that she can beat me with her fastball. So she can throw a fastball by me.
The Aroldis Chapman.
The Aroldis Chapman's
of
of the
softball.
world. So if you're in high school, this is probably 62 and above maybe, or maybe 60 and above, depending on your level as a hitter. And so with those girls, I know I have to start early. I have to give myself time to get my weight back, get my hands back, and get my foot down before the softball gets there. So I'm going to start my load early in her delivery to make sure I'm allowing myself enough time. On the flip side of this, you have late rhythm pitchers, who are girls who do not throw hard enough to throw a fastball by you. And I would say for good hitters, a vast majority of pitchers fall into this category. And I talked with my 13U team about this all the time, where the amount of pitchers that we've seen that can beat us with a fastball is less than 5 probably.
Yeah.
But the amount of pitchers we've seen that can get us out on our front foot, either because they throw slow or they have like a decent off-speed pitch, is a lot.
Yeah.
So these are pitchers where I'm starting my load much later because I'm going to hedge my bet that, hey, I'm going to essentially work on hitting this off-speed pitch, letting it get deep, staying on my back leg, working to right center, let's say. And then on the off chance that they do come with a fastball, I know that my hands are good enough to get to it. Like, they don't throw hard enough to get it by me, right? So that's kind of how I work on a late rhythm pitcher. And then, unfortunately, there's a small group of pitchers that we refer to as split rhythm pitchers, which can beat you with their fastball, so they throw hard enough to beat you with a fastball, and they also throw a decent second, third, or in softball, maybe fourth and fifth, really good off-speed pitch. And those are the pitchers that will give you fits because they can throw hard, or they have this good breaking stuff that they can spin. And so what you can't do as a hitter is say, all right, I'm going to hit their inside fastball, and I'm going to hit their changeup away. Same thing works in baseball. I can't go, all right, I'm going to hit this guy's 87-mile-an-hour fastball in, and I'm going to hit his 69-mile-an-hour curveball away. Those are too far removed from each other that the timing doesn't work out. So basically what I have to do is the reason it's called split rhythm is I chop the plate in half, and I say, let's say I'm a softball player. I'm going to say to myself, okay, any fastball this girl throws middle or away, I'm going to go at. So I'm going to swing at that pitch. Any off-speed pitch that she throws in or half, middle or in, I'm going to swing at that pitch. And the idea here is when I'm hitting a fastball, she's trying to get it by me, and I, as a hitter, am actively trying to let it get deep. So those two things kind of match up. And if it's on the outer half of the plate, that helps me. That helps work it into the zone. On an off-speed pitch, she's trying to get me off balance over my front foot. On a pitch on the inner half of the plate, I'm trying to hit the ball out in front anyway. So she's throwing her off-speed in. I'm trying to get that pitch out in front. Those two things match up. But now, all of a sudden, if I start chasing that fastball in and that changeup or that curveball away, now those things don't match up, and I get in trouble, where she comes fastball in trying to get it by me with a pitch that I'm trying to hit out in front. That doesn't work. Or she throws her changeup that's really, really slow on the outer half of the plate, and I'm trying to let it get deep. That doesn't work out.
Yeah.
So I think the two big things I see that my hitters do wrong is make zero adjustment in their load timing for different pitchers' velocities, And then when you're up against what we would consider like really good pitcher who can hit spots, throw hard, and has good off speed, you can't swing at everything in the zone. It just doesn't work like that. And so the big thing I tell all my hitters is when you see people in the on deck circle, good hitters are working on, when you see them like kind of going through their load, what they should be doing is figuring out, all right, based on how this pitcher is delivering the baseball or softball today, when do I need to start my load to give myself just enough time to get into my back leg, have my hands separated, and have my front foot down and be ready to go when the ball is getting to the zone?
Yeah, that makes sense. Because, hitting is just timing.
Yeah.
And the hitting speed thing is very real. You see it at all levels of baseball and softball. Anytime, you just get your eyes and your body and your timing gets comfortable to a certain band. So, in Division I softball, it's probably like that 60 to 65 or 58 to 65. And, Division I baseball, it's like 88 to 90. That's what you see most of the time. Anytime it gets way above that, you have to do new things, like Lucas said, to adapt and to get your bat through the zone. And so a lot of times, this is why pitchers, you could have two softball players. You could have a softball player. So everyone throws, hitting speed is like 58-ish, say. And, in your area of the woods, most pitchers throw around 58. So you have a pitcher on your team who throws 58. Then you also have a pitcher who throws 52. So you would say, objectively, the pitcher who throws 58 is way better than the pitcher who throws 52. Maybe all their other stuff is the same. They throw the same amount of strikes, same amount of off speed, but one throws 6 miles per hour harder. The girl who throws 58 might a lot of times get hit harder than the 52 mile. And you're like, that's not fair. Why is it like that? So, well, it's because people see them every day. It's not ideal to be in hitting speed band when you're a pitcher, baseball or softball. And when you can be below it, it's not to say you want to be below because you can make less mistakes or you can't get the ball by them. There's still a different set of rules that apply. But hitting speed is also a tough place to be, where again you want to have some sort of thing that gets you either above or below. You have an exceptional off-speed pitch, you have exceptional command, or you're above or below hitting speed by a good amount. Obviously, everyone wants to be above it because below it, coaches don't think you can do the job consistently because you can't go out there and throw way below hitting speed every day because they can make an adjustment when they finally do, and then you're not going to be able to beat them with your fastball. It's going to be above it.
I see this with my team every weekend because we have a kid who's very big and physical, but he throws kind of right at that hitting speed, and he throws a lot of strikes, but because of that, he gets barreled up a lot. And then I like to come in relief with a kid who throws well below hitting speed, and he'll throw equal number of strikes, but just miss barrel after barrel after barrel because guys are front foot. But then about a second time through the lineup, they start to figure it out. Yeah, that's when they start to figure it out. So then you that's the whole idea of, when you have a hard-throwing starter and you come in with a soft-throwing reliever and then maybe a hard-throwing closer, that's where that comes from. And so I would say, just like as a parting thought on this, if you're a parent, this can sometimes be very easy to see. So let's say that you're a parent of a young softball player. She's 11, and you're noticing, man, when she's in the cage, she's absolutely raking, and then when she comes into a game, it doesn't look the same. The red flags are, if she's on either side of this, so she's either getting blown away by stuff or she's way out in front, is when they're really, really early, they'll start their load way too soon, and you'll see them lean over their front foot. And that leaning is your body's way of slowing you down. Hey, we started too soon, so let's lean up over our front foot. We'll kill all of our rotation. Our hands will get really, really long and slow, which, of course, all these things are bad, but it'll put me on time with the softball. I won't hit it anywhere, but at least I'll touch it. Yeah. That's when you pull your little kid aside and you say, hey, you're loading way too early. Maybe see this softball. Wait till you see release, or just after release to start your load, and that will put you more on time. On the flip side of this, if they're just getting blown away by stuff and you notice they're not fully loading, they're kind of like taking a little baby load, and then their barrel's really dragging, then you go, hey, you're starting your load way too late, and because of that, you don't get fully loaded, you take a little baby load, and then you have zero power, so you have zero bat speed, right? Because you haven't loaded your hips, you can't use your hip rotation, and now it's all hands, and your hands are just way too weak, and your barrel's all nice and slow. So then you go, okay, well, you need to load before her front foot hits the ground, or as her front foot is hitting the ground, and we're talking about a windmill, maybe that's when you start your load. That gives you enough time to comfortably get all the way back and get your front foot down and be ready to attack and try to drive that fastball. Well, if she's blowing it by you, you're trying to drive it to left center, but you get the idea. So those are the things you look out for, and I see that a lot where kids will look really, really good in front toss off the tee when I'm throwing at hitting speed, but then you get them into a game, and then they're like, what do I do? So. Yeah.
All right. Hey, good softball episode.
Good softball episode.
Well, that was it for this week of Twinsies, episode 45.
Episode 45 in the books.
So a lot of stuff coming out from us on social media. So be sure to follow us on Snapchat, Warbird_Academy, Warbird Senators, all one word, Coach Dan Blewett. Instagram, Warbird Senators, Warbird Academy, Coach Dan Blewett. Facebook, Warbird Senators. I mean, we got
much content.
so much stuff. So obviously there's going to be a lot going out there. You'll get some more behind the scenes, especially on Snapchat and Instagram. So
come see us this summer.
Yeah, and obviously training. Come get strong. We're going to have a lot going on here at the Bird. It's going to be fun.
Sweet.
All right, peace.